There are specific things that you need to practice consistently in order to improve at the piano, regardless of your current level of ability. You're not going to see much progress if you're constantly switching pieces and you have no structure to your practicing. Well, don't fear, because I'm here to help give you that structure and meet your piano goals. My name's Heather Thompson-Smits, and I've been teaching beginning to advanced students for about 30 years. I'm going to give you my exact practice routine that I teach my students. So I'm going to tell you what to practice, how to practice it, why to practice it, and I'm going to share where you can find my resources so that you see real improvement in your playing. I know what you're thinking. You don't have much time to practice. Well, I promise what I teach you today, you can accomplish in 20 to 30-minute practice sessions. Obviously, you'll progress more quickly if you have more time, but let's aim for a minimum of 20 minutes per day, 5 days a week. And I will be talking about some different practice strategies that you can try if you're especially short on time, so stay tuned. Oh, and don't worry, this video isn't going to be all about practicing scales and chords. Those are important, but I am going to include a lot of fun into your daily practice routine because most of what you practice should be enjoyable. I love to help students find music that they're passionate about, so I'm going to share some specific books, apps, and websites, and I'll link them in the description below. Let's get into it. Your daily practice routine should include 3 categories: technique, sight reading, and repertoire. Shocking, right? Before I go into detail about these 3 categories, I want to first say that if you don't have a lot of piano music lying around the house, which most people don't, I strongly recommend that you invest in some books and/or software that I've linked in the description below. They're very affordable, and if you're serious about making progress, you really need to be practicing pieces and exercises that gradually progress and build on concepts. Category 1 is technique, and there are 2 parts to technique that I'd like you to include in your daily practice routine. Practice 1 scale, chord progression, and arpeggio every day. Start with the key of C major, and once you've mastered that, then you can progress to the next key in the circle of fifths. I strongly suggest that you practice out of a piano book series. I personally like Keith Snell's Scale Skills book because it does include scales, chords, and arpeggios. Practice with the metronome and gradually work up the tempo until you've reached your max speed that you can play clean and even. So why should you practice scales, chords, and arpeggios? Well, good question. They will teach you good piano fingering, and they will be included in almost every piece that you play. They will also teach you a lot about music theory and will help you to memorize pieces more easily. Part 2 of the technique category is exercise. Practice 1 exercise a day out of a book like Fingerpower, Hanon, or Czerny. These books will help you to develop finger strength, coordination, and speed. And if you don't work on these skills, you're going to be really limited in what you can play. So do some hand separate practice when you're doing these exercises so that you can really focus in on proper hand position and wrist position, and you can focus on curving each finger at the first joint. And once you can do that well, then you would play hands together. And remember to play loud and strong because you're trying to build finger strength here. Also, practice this with the metronome and push yourself on the speed. So you want to write down your top number and keep working it up until you feel like you've maxed out at a speed that you can play clean and even. I especially like the Fingerpower series because it starts with a preparatory level for beginners and gradually progresses to book 6. I really hope you're loving this video and learning something. If you are, make sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like this. It really helps our channel grow and helps us to reach more people. The next category of your daily practice routine is called sight reading. Practice 1 piece that you can master in 1 to 2 weeks. You've mastered it if you can play it clean, up to tempo, with dynamics and the correct rhythm and articulations. And this sight reading piece should be fun and enjoyable. So where do you find these fun sight reading pieces? Well, again, I highly recommend practicing out of a piano book series, aka method books, like the Piano Adventure series, because they progress gradually and there's a lot of really fun, enjoyable pieces that you'll recognize. They include classical, popular, holiday, and jazz, and important concepts like scales, chords, and arpeggios, and the circle of fifths. And they even include theory pages that teach you new concepts. I'm also a huge fan of the Piano Marvel software. I'm going to tell you more about Piano Marvel later in the video, but it's so important to practice these easy sight reading pieces that you can master in a few weeks. Because the best way to improve your reading skills and just improve in general at the piano is to learn a lot of music. The next category of your daily practice routine is called repertoire. Practice one piece that you really want to learn, and you should be able to master it in a matter of months. Now, how difficult this piece is really up to you. Some of my students are fine practicing a piece for a year, and some of them get really bored in a few months. So this decision really is yours. But if you haven't learned a lot of piano music, I highly recommend that you choose pieces that you can master in 1 to 2 months max. So where can you go to find inspiring repertoire? Sometimes I have my students go to musicnotes.com to find pieces that they're excited about. Piano Marvel is also another great resource for inspiring repertoire. And it's an all-inclusive software that will cover all of the categories in my daily practice routine. And I see my students using Piano Marvel progress about 5 times faster than the students that are using method books, because it's really fun to practice with. And it also gives instant feedback when you play a wrong note or the wrong rhythm. Now, if you're an intermediate or advanced player and you're primarily interested in classical piano music, then I've got a great book for you linked in the description. This book lists the major piano works by famous composers based on level of difficulty. So let's say you wanted to include Chopin into your repertoire. This book could serve as a guide for you and tell you which pieces to start with based on the level of difficulty. You can buy the books or the sheet music on sheetmusicplus.com or Amazon, and you can also get free sheet music on IMSLP. Okay, let's talk about time maximizing strategies. You really can get a lot done in 20 minutes if you practice efficiently. The most important thing that you can do when you're short on time is practice hands separately and together slowly, and then play small sections 2 or 3 times in a row perfectly before moving on to the next section. Another practice strategy that I teach my students who are really crunched for time is using an A-day, B-day practice schedule. So you'll split up your assignments and practice half on A-day and the other half on B-day. So now we've talked about what to practice and a little about how to practice it. And if you implement my ideas, you will see progress. Now, if you want to really see quick progress, make sure to watch this next video where I break down important practice strategies that will help you to learn your pieces quickly and maximize your progress.